Witnessing my heavenly house in a near-death revelation. Around mid-2004, my health started to decline quickly. I couldn't think clearly and got lost in familiar places. Doctors couldn't find a definite problem but recommended seeing specialists. One suggested heart issues and prescribed medication. Another said my heart seemed fine but referred me to an endocrinologist. Then, on May 27th, I experienced an intense feeling in my head, back, and chest. I thought I was having a heart attack and called 911. At the hospital, they discovered I'd had a stroke on my left side and admitted me for treatment and tests. The next day, they found an issue with my right coronary artery and planned to fix it. Despite my fear, I trusted in prayer and was prepared for whatever came next. On the morning of June 2nd, I was ready to go to the main hospital, but the transportation was delayed. Eventually, I arrived and spoke with my wife before the procedure. The nurses prepared me, and the doctor began the procedure. I heard some concerning words and felt pressure in my chest. There was a discussion about a clot, and suddenly, I was told I needed open-heart surgery. I was scared but prayed for guidance. My wife and the doctor reassured me, and I said what I thought might be my last goodbye. As they took me to surgery, I drifted off to sleep. When I woke up, I was on a ventilator with my wife by my side. A woman held my hand and spoke softly. She said, "Don't worry, everything will be okay." There were many people around, nurses, doctors, and technicians, checking on me, cleaning me, giving me medicine through needles. I knew something serious had happened. My chest hurt a lot, like I had fallen from a tall building onto my chest. In the past week, I had a stroke, a test called an angiogram, a surgery called angioplasty that didn't work, and then another surgery to fix my heart. I lost a lot of blood. Later, I found out that one of my arteries had burst open. The only thing that stopped me from bleeding to death was leaving a tube inflated inside me. I also learned that my heart problem was worse than I thought, and being on a machine during surgery made it even worse. Now I was in a lot of pain. I could hardly breathe, I felt dizzy, and my blood pressure was dropping quickly. I wondered what else could go wrong. As I was getting better from all the things that happened to me, things were improving. I could walk a little and sit in a chair beside my bed for a short time. I could taste food again, and I prayed a lot, thanking God for letting me live and wondering what He wanted me to do. It was June 5th, and the doctors were talking about letting me go home soon. I was happy to hear that, even though I still felt weak, and it took me a long time to do simple things like washing myself. But things were getting better. They took out the tubes from my chest because I wasn't bleeding inside anymore, and I might even get to shower that day. The doctor said they might keep me for another day because my blood pressure was still dropping, but I was still grateful and happy when my family came to visit. It felt like a new beginning. On June 6th, I was looking forward to resting at home and figuring out what God wanted me to do. I woke up early on June 7th, feeling a bit restless. The nurses would change at 7 o'clock, and I wouldn't see anyone until after 7:30. I was waiting for breakfast, feeling hungry. I didn't remember what I had ordered, but I just wanted to eat. Around 7 o'clock, I was sitting on the bed watching TV after going to the bathroom. My jaw started feeling heavy, and I kept rubbing it, thinking it might be a headache. I heard the food trays arriving, feeling excited. It was around 7:30, and I was thinking about food and going home that day. I even planned to call my wife to pick me up in the afternoon, but suddenly I felt a sense of doom. I couldn't move, and I felt like something was very wrong. All I could do was ask for help, feeling scared and desperate. I was no longer in a hospital room, but on a road. Not a golden road, just a beautiful road. It was me. I saw a young me, about 10 years old or so, with a long willow branch over my shoulder and a red bandana at the end of the branch, like a hobo. There were people that I had known in my life and many others that I did not. On that road, we exchanged smiles as we passed, and my mind was in awe of what I was seeing. The most beautiful road I had ever seen, with details that were indescribable. Suddenly, I thought of a mountain I had seen as a child. When I looked up from the road, I saw the most amazing mountain I had ever seen. It was so beautiful, with colors and shadows that were beyond words. It felt like all my questions were answered without me even asking them. It was like God was everywhere, in everything around me. It felt like my soul was filled with everything it needed, and time didn't matter anymore. It was like I had come home to God's house after living in a world of imperfection, but then I heard a voice telling me I had to go back. I didn't want to leave, but I had a task to finish. Suddenly, I was back in the darkness, surrounded by lightning bolts. Then I woke up in a hospital room with people cheering around me. A young woman was holding my hand and looking into my eyes. Her voice was calming, like an angel's. She told me it wasn't my choice to stay, and I stopped fighting. Later, I wondered why God had sent me back. Maybe He sent her to help me. Now, I feel like I have to fulfill whatever task He has for me. When I woke up again, the respirator was removed. As I woke up after being unconscious for over 15 hours, I felt like something had changed within me. It was like my eyes were seeing things differently, not just with my mind, but as if my soul was seeing the world. Everything seemed to have a deeper meaning than before. Even simple things like talking or smiling felt more important and sincere. Though I was weak and in pain all over, I felt grateful just to be alive and to have a purpose. My thoughts weren't just about myself anymore. They were about everyone around me. I spoke to the nurses who were caring for me about my experience. I told them about a woman who had helped me and how grateful I was to her. 2 days later, a nurse named Debbie came to my room. She held my hand and said she was glad to see me doing better. Looking into her eyes, I felt like I was seeing the Spirit of the Lord within her. This encounter reminded me of a Bible verse about angels and how they're always with us. I realized that angels exist not just in stories but in real life, in the people around us who show kindness and care. Every time I see someone with that same soulful look in their eyes, I feel grateful and humbled. On June 10th, I had to be monitored closely because of my condition. The doctors talked about putting a defibrillator in my chest to prevent sudden heart problems. On the 14th, they explained that they needed to stop my heart twice to test the device, which was a risky procedure. I stood at the sink, washing my face and shaving. While doing this, I prayed for everyone involved in the upcoming surgery. Suddenly, I looked at myself in the mirror. I stared closely. Who was looking back at me? Who was this new person inside? The eyes I saw were different from the me I knew. I asked aloud, "Who are you?" A voice inside answered gently, "You're the new you. The old you is gone." I asked, "What do you want from me?" The voice replied softly, "You need to love more, accept love more, and forgive more. Remember what you've seen, a world that few remember. Most importantly, love is the key." I couldn't believe it. Tears filled my eyes as I kept thanking for the new me. I felt like my eyes were opened for the first time. The church song, "Open the Eyes of My Heart, Lord, I Want to See You," certainly made sense to me. I now see through the eyes of my heart, not just my physical eyes. I've seen the Lord, even though I didn't realize it before. I understand now that God created a perfect world, but humans messed it up. When we leave this imperfect life, God asks us if we're ready. Our ancestors had perfection, but they weren't ready for it. So, are you ready? I had to die to understand this. God was showing me the way, but I chose my own path. Dying was peaceful, but coming back wasn't easy. I was afraid I was going to hell. Learn to understand God's grace before it's too late. Open your heart's eyes and see God's love and power. Believe that God has prepared a perfect place for you without pain or suffering. It's been 5 months since I left the hospital. A lot has happened since then. I'd reconnected with family members, endured hurricanes, and faced challenges. Through it all, I've realized that everything happens for God's reasons, not mine. If I'm given more time, I'll continue to do God's work.